Okay, we are live.
So I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Dauphin County Industrial Development Authority for Thursday, April 16th at 12 o'clock p.m. And take a roll call. Mr. Foley?
Here.
Mr. Rickards?
Present.
Mr. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Reaver?
Present.
Mr. Steck? Present. So we have a quorum. And there was no need for an executive session to be held before this meeting. But apparently, what, said he would pay for lunch the next time?
I thought Pam was paying for lunch today, that's why I'm here.
Y'all ought to be treating me.
Well, I agree with that. And we can talk about that later. So there was no executive session held before that. And any public participation at this point on agenda items only.
Only to say that if I can't hear, I'm gonna be sitting there.
Understand? Talk loud. I will, any other public participation? Brian from Rocket Capital? No? I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes of March 19th, 2026.
So moved. Second.
Doug, seconded by Everett. Any discussion? It's a fair reflection. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, the ayes have it. Motion carries. It's approved. Now I'm looking for a motion to approve the financials, or should I say, accept the financials? Nothing on
It's appropriate, yes.
it, for February 2026. So moved. Motion by Mr. Reaver, second by Mr. Rickards. Any discussion? Questions? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Ayes have it, and motion carries. Solicitors report and action items.
I have no report. There is an action item under new business related to bank authorization to authorize a new signatory for the interim executive director, Vince Keys. And so you will see that under the next agenda. Thank you.
So, under new business, we do have a resolution that designates authorized signatures for bank accounts that will include then the signature, Mr. Keys. So we need a motion to authorize that resolution, or we need to, just bring that up, that resolution, and pass it. Is that correct?
We would need a motion first, and discussion.
Someone make a motion or so.
So Mr. Foley will make a motion that we bring that resolution up for discussion, seconded by Mr. Reed. Discussion.
Sure. So the resolution that's being presented is to authorize the interim executive director as a signer on the bank accounts that the IDA holds. Essentially, as a result of Mr. Connor retiring, effective yesterday, it is necessary to authorize the interim executive director to be able to sign when those instances come up. I believe the resolution references that checks will need to be signed by two individuals, either the executive director or the deputy, which is vacant, or or one of the board members that is authorized. And so the resolution is being presented for approval today in order for the IDA to be able to continue to carry out its business. And it's very similar or the same one that you would have approved last year, and positions changed.
Right.
And also, I believe we have a form that is special, like it's for the Charles Schwab account that is under the IDA. They're requiring their own separate form to be signed to remove George as a signer. So we have that form to go along with the IDA signatory resolution.
I'm glad that Brooke mentioned that the resolution that we're discussing also specifies that any, prior signers that are no longer authorized to be removed from those accounts.
We'll have those forms for you after the meeting to sign.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, then I guess we will vote yes to authorize the bank account's signatory to be changed, the resolution to pass, or no is opposed to doing that. Correct. That's correct.
Correct. So you can call the vote.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Under new business, extension letter for the auditing services, for 25, 26, 27, and 28 calendar years. Sets up the discussion.
Sure. I reviewed the letter received from the current auditor that was authorized last month to complete the 2025 audit for the IDA. And essentially, the letter is proposing to provide audit services or audit the financials for years ending in 2026, 27, and 28. It's my understanding that this was, just sent to the IDA. So I'm not sure if there are any questions or concerns. As you all are aware, at the meeting last month, you approved ZNA to perform the audit for the year ending in 2025, and the cost was referenced in that contract that was approved. The action also, or the minutes also indicated that this body would issue an RFP for the next or upcoming audit years. So I don't have any other information. I don't know if this was
Did we issue an
requested or,
RFP?
excuse me,
Was this unsolicited or did we issue an RFP?
this staff. I don't think it's-
So an RFP was not completed yet as of last month. So I think it is safe to say if the board wants to amend this extension letter before signing it for just the 2025 year, like what was approved at last month. Have that signed today just for the 2025 audit year, and then an RFP will be done for 26 and forward.
I'm not sure that anything needs signed as it relates to this letter because the contract that was approved last month was for the audit year ending in 2025, and it included the amount, terms of the contract, what the professional auditors would be doing. All of that was spelled out in the contract that was approved last month. This
So I guess
appears to me,
maybe I'd like to amend the motion potentially to say that we just want it to be for 2025, and if there's anything else that's in desperate need of signature to get that to happen, we approve that, but we don't want to approve anything beyond there, so we can do the RFP as we discussed. Is that
makes sense.
appropriate?
That makes sense.
So that way, if there's something else, if they need some other signatory on something, we don't want to slow down the work of the auditors.
For this year.
For this year, for
Yes.
2025. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if we signed a contract, but I don't know if that was the official engagement letter. So we may need an official engagement letter as well. So I just want to give us.
I believe that what you approved last month was the contract and engagement letter.
Okay.
Well, so then we're authorizing
Mhm.
we're authorizing the completion of an engagement letter that would put forward those terms for,
Which we believe they're already done, but
Right,
some, this
right.
just allows leeway for the staff, in my mind, if they needed something else for 2025.
Yeah, I will make sure that nothing else needs to be done for the 2025 audit. But if something does arise, then we have the approval to get them signed. But-
We just don't want to slow that
Yeah,
process.
no, and then, Tim will work on the RFP
so we don't need a motion to do that, or do
and work with you to make sure that.
What Alex is proposing is that in the event that, ZNA required any additional approvals to complete the 2025 audit, that this board would be authorizing that, but no services beyond performing the 2025 audit as of today.
And of course, we would obviously welcome them to apply as part of the RFP process, we're not saying that, but we want to go through.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It was different, with like two forms of authorization, so I just wanted to make sure that's. One's
Well, I don't-
be contract and then the other is the.
Just-
Yes, litigation, so. I'll slow down a lot of.
No, I think that was last.
I believe there's a motion on the floor, so is there a second?
I'll second it for the discussion. Are we seconding the amendment?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll second it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Hopefully it's a moot point and they don't need anything else. I just don't want to wait a month if we need something to get the audit.
So, Mr. Chairman, you would call the vote on the amendment, and if that passes, then there will be a vote on the amendment motion.
Right. So I'll call that vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. And now we'll vote on the amended version. Correct?
Correct.
So we need a motion to second on that, or just,
I think it would clarify who initially made the motion.
who did make the motion, second, Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
And then it was Mr. Ford. Would you like the same?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or the bill as amended passes. Motion is amended. We will get a copy of that once it's transmitted. Correct.
Yes.
Thank you. Everybody's. Everybody, yeah.
Yes.
Old business.
On the solar project, there was a status call this morning with the purchasers providing an update with regard to working to provide a closing date. They also updated that they have been in touch with the neighboring landowners with regard to getting consent for the easement. We were informed that one of the landowners is either traveling or has been out of town. And there's a point person for the group of neighbors that live there, and is working to contact that person to get their written consent to the easement that's going to be part of the closing. They also requested updated performance of the solar system, the solar farm, and staff has been made aware of that and is working on getting that information to them. And listen. So they also discussed in terms of the performance year of utilities, that ends on May 31st, and that would be ideal to work towards as a closing date in terms of having a clean break for the year. And so we're, hopeful and looking, that a closing would be around that time.
Good.
Any questions? Thank you.
Gaming program updates.
So the commissioners approved the 2025-26 local share gaming awards yesterday. So we will be working with Eckert Siemens to get the agreements drafted, the form drafted. I know we are looking at some reform to the program, so meetings will be had to discuss those changes and what can be done and what needs to be done. So we are moving forward. Hopefully, we'll be able to have the new cycle open this summer. Those dates need to be discussed and approved. That is my update.
Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Because this ties a little to gaming and to other things.
Mhm.
So obviously, the elephant in the room is this has all been in the news.
Mhm.
We've all read that. Part of that involved the right to know requests.
Mhm.
And one of the things that we as a board had done was approved a contract to work to get all of that digitized and more searchable. And so just a question, just one, let people know that that has been done to try to make this process better and easier. But also two, do we have any status update on where that process is on that?
That is still being discussed and worked out. We have approval for that, and hopefully, once the dust settles, we can get that moving forward to assist our office and all of those heavy requests that we have been receiving.
But there is work being done to move that
Yes,
process
yeah.
along. And so I just felt like that was a
Mhm.
missing piece that maybe some people were.
Yeah.
So it's the vendor.
The
Collaborative intelligence for
Oh,
for
got
document migration.
Gotcha.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, collective intelligence, my handwriting.
No, I know what you're, okay.
Infrastructure bank.
I don't think there is an update at this time.
And small business development, small business loan program.
No update.
Correspondence and miscellaneous items. The record show that Eric Haggerty is here. That's a miscellaneous item. Welcome.
I'm waiting for the public participation on
Well,
non-agenda
welcome.
items.
Welcome. Any comments on the agenda are greatly appreciated. Yeah. Hearing no old business and no correspondence and miscellaneous items, I'll look for board comments. Hearing none. I will look now for public participation from any of our members. Public,
No, go ahead.
please, Pam.
Pamela Parsons, City of Harrisburg. Just really, I haven't been here in months, and I come in and the solar farm is still on here, which according to the February minutes, which I read, closing was supposed to be last month in March. And I don't get 17 months at this point. And with all due respect to the solicitor, I think the only thing that I see anybody gaining is billable hours on this. I cannot believe that you have allowed this to go on as long as it has. Especially because it was your only bitter. Like, they've been pulling you around by the nose for 17 months. You should be ashamed of that. Let me also talk about public participation. I was serious when I said, if I can't hear back there, I'm gonna sit here. I know that you meet the letter of the Sunshine Act and open records, but you clearly don't meet the spirit of that law. Because if you cannot hear, you do not have access, period. Yes, I can hear better if I watch online, but you cannot comment if you are online. If you want to change that, you can create a Zoom that people can log into and they can make comment. The prison board does that. Or you could create a public comment email address that people can send you emails that can then be added to the minutes. City council does it that way. You can provide more options, or you can buy a cheap speaker and some cheap microphones so that people can hear. Let me also say about the gaming program, there were a number of things that the commissioners mentioned that they wanted to see yesterday. And that is audits, no longer waiving audits, 90-day progress reports, checking to make sure that people have actually paid their taxes before they're granted an award, and conflicts of interest, personal, business, any of that. It's very clear from my own research over the past nearly 3 years now, and Penn Live's articles, but there are major issues around those things. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Any further public participation, Mr. Haggard?
Good afternoon. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Economic Development Department. Obviously, with George Connor's retirement yesterday, Dave Robinson no longer working in the agency, Mike Burke no longer working in the department, Autumn having left the agency in the last year. There's been quite a bit of turnover. They've been under enormous strain, not only just from the normal day-to-day workload, but of course, public scrutiny around a variety of economic development programming that almost all cases is no fault of their own, certainly at the staff level. Yesterday, we posted publicly the director and deputy director positions. They'll be public for 3 weeks. I think, given all the turnover and scrutiny, again, I don't mean this as a reflection on any of the 4 folks who have transitioned out of the office in the last year, but there's obviously an opportunity to sort of have a fresh start and a reset. So I'm certainly going to be attempting to recruit professionals from the state. For example, I've reached out to the State Department of Community and Economic Development in hopes that they will share the job postings internally, because there are 300 folks at the Keystone building that work at the state level where I used to work with that are excellent and are familiar with a lot of these types of grant and loan tax credit programs. So I'm going to be attempting to recruit externally to fill some of these positions. I would really appreciate it if you all also kind of tapped into your networks to make sure that the public postings are shared as widely as possible, because I really do want to cast a wide net. And hopefully, we'll be able to attract some folks that'll, help Tim and Brooke and Vince now, build some capacity, because there's just way more work. Certainly they have the time to accomplish. And so to get all of these reforms and things that I know many of us would like to see, we've got to get a full team in place here. So really appreciate everyone's help. Those are online as of last night. Maybe Vince could share with the full board a link to those postings. So if you want to help us recruit, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. Further comments? I will make a motion that we adjourn the IDA meeting Thursday, April 16th, 12:26 p.m.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Richards. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Those likewise, we are adjourned at 12:07. Now I will bring this meeting of the Dauphin County Economic Development Corporation to order for Thursday, April 16th at 12:27 p.m. And take the same roll call as the prior Industrial Development Authority meeting, so that we have a full members of the public, both Brian from Rock Capital and Pam Parsons and Eric Haggerty. Well, he was here. He told me he liked the Economic Development Corporation better. Anyway, we had no executive session held for the meeting. There's no need for it. Now I'll look for public participation on the agenda items only at this point. Anything, Pam? Okay, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes that were sent for March 19th, 2026 meeting. I'll make the motion. Second by Mr. Rickards. It's a fair reflection. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it. Motion carried. Approved acceptance of the financials pending audit for February 2026. Information was sent out to you today by Mr. Brooks. I believe it was updated, or we have all of the information that's needed. I don't know if you looked at it.
I have not had a chance to review it.
Okay.
Just got through tax day yesterday.
I understand that. Well, I do understand that. I will let you go. Do you want to go over it until next month? Is there a reason?
I would appreciate that. I did have a chance to do my review of the other financials, but I didn't have a chance to review.
Can we do
these, I'm
this?
sorry.
The corporation? Can we do that? Is that a problem?
To table.
All right, I'll make the motion to table the acceptance.
Madam Chair, it's suggested that you would have another member of the body make the motion.
I would love to make that motion to take.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Hamilton.
But we do appreciate you getting them out. So thank you so much for your work.
To table the motion to accept the financials of February 2026 until the next meeting of this body. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. It's likewise, the ayes have it. Motion carried. Solicitors report and action items.
I do not have a report. Under new business, there is a resolution being proposed to designate authorized signatories for the bank accounts that the Economic Development Corporation holds. So when we get there, we can explain.
All right, well then let's proceed into new business. Discuss that.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Yes, I'm sorry. To proceed into new business and consider that resolution. Yes. So there's a motion by Mr. Foley,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Griever. Please update us.
Sure, so there's a resolution being presented today to authorize the interim executive director, Vince Pease, as a signer on bank accounts for the Economic Development Corporation. For the reason that key positions in the office have been departed by other individuals. And so in addition to authorizing Mr. Pease to sign on accounts, it also removes or deactivates things that were previously authorized and not by the county.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve that resolution authorizing the signatories for the bank accounts.
Have you already had a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. You already have a motion, second. All in favor of the resolution, signify by saying aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it. And resolution authorizing the bank account signatures is unanimous. The extension letter for auditing services.
I would like to say, make the same motion, put this on the table, and then the same amendment at the same time for authorizing it for anything else we need to sign to get 2025 done, but not for the extension. So that gives us time for an RFP process, which of course the current auditor will be invited to, as discussed in our previous.
Mr. Weaver, second. Discussion. Pretty clear on what we're doing. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Likewise, the motion carries, so that will be amended in the manner prescribed. Old business. Is that program reports?
Yeah.
So, one of our fourth floor parkers, over in the Market Square garage had vehicle damage to their truck while exiting the fourth floor parking area that we own. As you know, the doors, we are having issues with the doors and they need to be replaced. We were unaware that the doors throughout the day, the spring system allows it to drop ever so slightly. It dropped enough to hit the individual's roof of his truck and put scratch marks down into the metal paint. So I asked him to provide me with 3 quotes to get the repair finalized. He provided me with 3. So we agreed to pay the garage directly for his repairs. He picked the middle ground of the 3 estimates. It's his preferred garage closest to his home. So we're going to cut the check directly to the garage for those repairs so that he doesn't have to. He provided pictures. We have pictures. George and I walked over and saw the door. And as we were there, one of the maintenance men was there working, and he showed us. He used the chain to bring up the garage door. And as we were standing there, it literally dropped slightly. So over. What?
No.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know that we will be paying that garage bill for our tenant, so he can get his vehicle fixed and just.
What about the garage itself, the door itself?
Already approved that.
Yeah, so
I know, yeah.
yeah, so we will be working with Vince to get that moving. That's obviously it's a need, so we need to get that done before we are damaging more cars and nobody wants to park in our garage.
It seemed like more of a want at the time. Now it seems like
Yeah.
more of a
Yeah.
priority. If that
Yeah,
could happen.
so just wanted to let you know that has happened.
Excellent. Okay, CDBG home program.
Yeah, so Deb is working with staff and reviewing the applications with the commissioners for final recommendations. I know she received the contract from HUD that needs to be signed, so we're moving forward, just for making sure that we have good recommendations to put forth. That's my update for that.
Plans due in August.
Yes. Tourism closed on April 1. We have, I believe, an estimate, maybe 140 applications. I haven't had a chance to pull the information, but that will be happening here in the near future to gather the information on who submitted the applications.
Thank you. Anything else on your end?
Business as usual.
Correspondence and miscellaneous items.
I don't have anything particular, but just to tell the board, with a bit of apprehension, I'm excited to step into the role. Much like Eric just spoke to last meeting, definitely committed to finding the best replacement that gives the current staff, the most support, as well as a vision for that office and all the work they do for both these boards as well as the rest. So if there's anything that you guys need from me, I know at least 4 of you have personal relationships, and you can reach out to me, but John, same to you. If there's anything you guys need for either board, I'm here.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think Pam and people that come here and talk to us, it's important, the work that we do and how we interface. You might not know all the programs, we certainly don't. So, it's helpful to other people to inform us as well, lest you think it's not. And so we certainly know people at the state level, all of us here, that can be helpful in a way that I think is important to get our citizens the best information we can with the best help we can. And that's kind of the way I've always felt. It's a shame that we can't be a leader among folks since we're a capital city, capital county. But be that as it may, we're working through that, and we'll try to work with our elected officials in ways that are positive on both sides of the aisle where we can tonight. And yeah, so I look forward to that. We need to do the best thing for the folks that pay taxes here. Just thank you. Any other board thoughts? Yeah.
Yes, one thing that Pam brought up was the audits that we seem to have passed over the years. What's the process to get these non-governmental private enterprises that have gotten grants? Do they audit them on that? Do we have internal auditors, or do we have to hire some?
My understanding of the way it's written currently, and I think this is what Brooke was alluding to, we have meetings scheduled to talk about these reforms. The way it's written now, I believe the audit is actually on the grantee. It's their responsibility to perform such an audit. I think when we get through the discussions of the reforms, I'm sure our plan is not to really shift it to the county and the already really strained staff, but I think it'll provide clarity as to what the county expects for those. I know we call them audit reports. I really think it might change into something more close to like a closeout report or some type of certification on their end as to what the funds were used for and really what project they used them for, and like kind of confirming those things and that they followed the agreement that we put in place. So I think that'll evolve over the next few weeks is what we're going to do.
And just for further clarity, just the way that the program runs and how we run pretty much all of our grant programs in our office, when an organization is awarded funds, they do not receive those funds 100% upfront for them to then spend how they see fit. Our auditing that we have done for years has been that the organizations submit the invoices that are project related to us, either for us to pay directly or for them to be reimbursed. But to be reimbursed, for them to actually receive the funds, they need to provide us copies of clear checks along with the invoice that they paid. So that is the auditing that is done throughout the process. Each individual invoice is reviewed and made sure that it matches what the project was in the application. The only audit that is listed in the agreement is a financial audit done at the end of the project. Most of these organizations don't even get these funds to hit their books. Hence the reason why a copy of their financial audit has been excused, because it doesn't even show the money that came from the county. So we are auditing throughout the process. But we are going to be having meetings to maybe, like Vince said, enact or have a final closeout report, a certification that they sign. But there has been steps in place to make sure that the funds just aren't given and used for whatever they want.
Okay, I understand. So how about just furnishing us reports? Is it finished? Is job to finish that? You furnish the board reports.
I'm sorry?
If you furnish the board reports after you've done the audits, after it's closed out, all right, updated.
So we,
I think Mr. Hamilton's asking, in the future going forward,
Yes,
would staff be able to provide this board with proof that the final closeout audit report
Yeah.
certification
yeah, we can.
has been received?
Yep. Yes, once that new practice is in place, we will share that with you, and we can send that information to you.
And maybe this is a question for the solicitor, and I know this is not maybe a time to ask questions, but, in a process like this, I guess my question is it our board that has the ability to enact these reforms, or is it the commissioners, or is it both combined? Kind of where is the responsibility for this?
Yeah, so that's a fair question. Within the gaming program, the gaming advisory board has been appointed to review applications, make recommendations as part of the process. And then once the funds are awarded by the commissioners, the IDA administers the grant. And so in the past, when there have been changes to the program, it's typically been something that the gaming advisory board has discussed, and depending on what it is, would be able to include in the guidelines or take to the board of commissioners for approval to update or revise those guidelines. At its current
So
moment.
ours is more fiduciary, just making sure that
Ministerial.
the policy that's been passed is being followed.
So at this moment, I'm not sure if any of that will change, but in terms of, what's in the grant agreement and what the grantee is obligated to do, that part of the process or term of the project is while the IDA is administering the grant.
And that's where we see the awards and the spend down on that and the financials.
How to,
Yeah.
request reimbursement or direct payment, inspections, final closeout, all that kind of stuff.
Thank you for that.
Any other thoughts or comments? Members of the public?
City Harrisburg. I'm reflecting on what Eric Haggard said earlier. You are under increased public scrutiny, and I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. And authorities, development corporations, things like that are quasi-governmental, wield a lot of power by folks like you who are not elected officials. And not only do you wield a lot of power, but you are responsible for distributing money, which is essentially public money. So therefore, you are accountable for that. And there should be opportunities for public participation and the public to be able to see more clearly what it is that you are doing. And in listening to Brooke talk about what your responsibility is in terms of gaming grants is yet another illustration that the entire process itself clearly does not work. I mean, it is deeply flawed because the gaming committee is a small group of people who read and vet these, but once they pick people, then their responsibility is gone. And yes, you pay the bills. Yes, you reimburse when someone gives you a receipt for that. But somewhere along the line, somebody some organization needs to take responsibility. I mean, sure, a guy fills out a grant, says he wants to buy a vehicle so he can deliver food to people for the housing authority. So he submits to you a receipt for $40,000 for receipt of a vehicle. He gets reimbursed for it, and then there's never any reporting after that. Does he actually do those things? We don't know. I mean, we honestly do not know, and I'm guessing none of you do, and the housing authority didn't know. How about the containers that were purchased for a housing project in Steelton? Again, there was a grant, it was awarded, the receipts were turned in, the money was paid. Those shipping containers, they're still sitting in Ohio. Like again, there's a break in the process because there's no follow-up. Someone needs to be responsible for that. And in some ways, the legislature created this because the rules for Dauphin County are different than every other county. But someone needs to step up and take responsibility for this because right now, there are no ethical guidelines for how grants are given. The rubric is nonsense because it's the same for everybody. And so consciously or unconsciously, the people who are connected to power, to money, to sitting commissioners, previous sitting commissioners who have business contacts, they are the folks who get it, who get the money. And if you don't have access to that, you don't. And once you turn in those receipts and they're reimbursed, no one follows up. And I would argue if you were a private foundation and you were awarding grants to people who wrote a proposal and you gave them a grant, yes, that's how most grants work. That you turn things in, you don't get all the money up front, you draw down money over time. But there are reporting requirements. And at the end of a grant, you're required to write what you did with that money. And I know that because I've written some of those. Yet that is not required here. And to me, that is a miscarriage of justice. And it is, there are a lot of people out there, there are many people and organizations that basically got ill-gotten gains. And to my mind, some of that wasn't spent properly. You should be looking for a way to get that money back. Like, if that vehicle was purchased for private use, ended up being for private use, well then to me, the county owns that. Like, you ought to take that vehicle back. Now, I'm sure there are legal aspects to that. Of course there is. But I mean, those are the questions. Those are the questions that you have to grapple with. And those are the questions that the public who is reading those articles is asking. And they're mad about it, and rightly so. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Any other members of the public care to comment?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify that it's the IDA that administers the game program, not the
Not the
EDC.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Pam. All right, I will now then make a motion to adjourn this meeting of Thursday, April 16th. Of the Dauphin County Economic Development Corporation. Seconded by Mr. Vickers, that we adjourn at 12:51 p.m. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. And Brian is out of here, and the ayes have it. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.